Hi, everybody. So today we're going to talk about lords. Well, kind of in general first, and then we're going to kind of break down to the different houses so that way you guys can kind of start poking around at, ooh, which house am I in? Which one is me? Which one would I prefer to be in, even though I'm in this one over here? Yeah, that kind of thing. So, first topic. Okay, so I've had people ask me about the Lord's thing, like how it works and why it works and all that kind of technical stuff. Well, okay, so what I've been able to figure out so far is there is one Lord per family, which is good, because basically we get a representation of every family on the planet and what they think and feel, etc. And considering what lords have to do in a day, a week, whatever amount of time you want to talk about, that's important that everybody kind of has a say. Now I say one per family. It's more like one per pairing. Let's explain this a minute. Okay, so we'll just make up names. So say Tom gets married to Sue, and they have 3 kids. Okay, one of those 3 kids will be a lord. One of them. It's very rare to be 2 in one pairing. Okay, now let's say they get divorced by some unhappy circumstance, and Tom now marries Jane over here. Now, then they have 2 kids. One of them will be a lord because he has been married to someone else or otherwise had children with someone else. So the interesting aspect is most families only have one lord. If for some reason you adopt children, which is awesome, I love adoption. Adoption's cool. Then you may end up with a second one because they're from a totally different pairing, and in some cases there's only one child that happens from that particular pairing. So adopted kids, you kind of have a heads up here. You're probably a lord if you were the only one born from your particular biological parents. So one child out of a pairing will be a lord. Okay, so also the other thing is okay, not only do adopted kids have like the heads up on this, only children. That's me. I'm an only child. Yeah, we are automatically lords, which is kind of interesting. So you kind of don't get a choice in that, like, well, you were a lord anyway, like, it's part of your soul, so you were going to be a lord no matter what area of a family you were born into, but only children, you can completely bet that you were a lord, or are one, so yeah, if you're an only child, you're a lord. If you're an adopted kid that was only from the only child that was from that particular set of biological parents, you're a lord. Everyone else, it's a little harder to tell, but when you figured out, you know, and every part of your being knows, like immediately, and you start stepping up. So you'll know whether you're a lord or not. You'll figure it out. You just kind of know. If not, if I know you and you're wondering, I can help you figure that out. I'm kind of good at that. Again, because of what I am in the Lords, so which we're not going into. We're not. But yeah, anybody that knows me knows what I'm talking about. So yeah. Anyway, in big families, this is interesting because then you've got this great big family with 12 kids, we'll say, and one of them's a lord. One of them. And they always kind of end up being the one that feels like they're kind of the black sheep of the family. They don't quite fit in the way they want because they're different and they have a whole different purpose than everybody else in that family. And that's okay. Eventually, you're going to have to learn to embrace that and go for it. But in the meantime, hang in there. It'll be okay. So, had another question on lords. Is this something we pick? Do we pick to be a lord? No. No, we don't. It's just something we are. So, I know being a lord can feel really like a huge responsibility and really difficult to deal with some days. I understand. Those of you that know me understand why I understand. So we're not going to go into details on that. But yeah, you feel really inadequate. You do. But you are a lord, and as such, you will either gain the skills as you go, or you will find you already have them and you just didn't remember, and you'll be able to do what it is you need to do, which is really awesome. That's the most awesome thing. Lords are never without resources. They always have that, I call it the uncanny dodge score, because I used to play Dungeons & Dragons a lot. But basically, it's you squeak out of situations at the very last second. For whatever reason, your back's against the wall, everything looks like it's going to fall out from under you, and somehow in the last split second, you get out of it. That's what lords do. We just do. I don't know. We're important, and so the universe sees fit to make sure we keep going. So, yeah, you'll feel inadequate, you'll feel scared. You'll feel like, oh, why? Why this? Why? I don't get it. And you'll find a way to keep going, because being a lord is something you are. It's a part of your soul. It's locked in. It's not something you pick or get chosen for or anything like that. You've just lived enough lifetimes and had enough experience and have the right skills that eventually you get kind of promoted at some point during those lifetimes to being a lord, and you are forever after a lord, period. That's how that works. It's like being an ascended master. Once you've ascended and you're a master of all that kind of stuff, you're an ascended master forever. It doesn't change. You can only go up from there. You can't go down again. So once you're a lord, you're kind of always a lord, and it's just who you are. And it's a good thing. It is. It is something that's across the entirety of the universe. Okay? It's not just our planet. It's the entire universe has lords in it. So, when I say we have council meetings, I mean we have intergalactic, across the universe council meetings. So, yeah. Now, when I say intergalactic, okay, I mean like everyone in the universe. There's beings all over the universe that exist, and they don't all look human being like us, and this is a whole other video I could get into trying to explain other planetary stuff, but we're not going to get into it. All I'm going to say is that there are some planets that have figured out how lords work, that there's one child in every pairing, and seek to only have one child then per pairing, and some of them have multiple pairings then in their life to make sure that every child they have is a lord. So that's kind of an interesting concept too. I really feel like that the Oriental cultures have kind of figured that out a little bit and kind of try to use that to their advantage in some ways, and that's not a bad thing. It just means they figured out something, whether they realize they figured it out or not. So it's kind of interesting. If you look at different cultures, there's always kind of the legends about like the only child, special one that comes and saves the culture and things. That they're probably a lord, and yeah, okay, as a myth, it's probably been embellished a lot, but there's got to be some truth to it. There's always truth to it. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting. So little thing on that too. So that's kind of the basic rundown on lords. Don't feel intimidated. It's all good. And most of the time, the funny thing is you are doing exactly what you need to be doing, even when you think, oh my gosh, I'm so far off. What do I do? What do I do? Oh my gosh. You're probably doing what you're supposed to be doing. And go with what you're attracted to. Like, whatever you seem most attracted to learn about or to do at that point, that's probably what you're supposed to be doing. So, you'll be okay. That's my main message, is no matter what, lords always end up okay. So, go with it. Find the flow of the universe. You'll be okay. Okay, So now on to the houses. There are 14 houses. So we're going to try and cover each one. This could take a while, but that's okay because this is essential information. So we'll cover each house, not in rank because they're all kind of equal rank, which is kind of nice, but more like we'll cover them in what I think is the logical elemental progression into less elemental and more everything else. So it's hard to explain until we're in it, so we'll get it as we go. So, okay. Okay, so the first house we're going to talk about, I have notes. So if I'm looking down, sorry, notes. With 14 houses, you have to keep notes. So the first house we're going to talk about is the air house. Now, if you've studied tarot at all, you've got 4 houses in tarot. You've got the air house, which is wands. You've got the earth house, which is pentacles. You've got the water house, which is cups. And the fire house, which is swords. Okay? This kind of works kind of a little bit like that, except there's, 10 other houses on top of it. So, if you studied tarot, you'll kind of understand what I'm doing a little bit with this. Okay, so the air house is called Questenon. Okay, that's the name of the house. They all have these cool, epic names. Okay, I don't know why, but they all have names, which is good because I don't know. I wouldn't just want to be like, oh, I'm the air house. That'd be weird. So, Questenon is the air house, and their kind of motto, well, maybe not motto, but they call themselves the House of Higher Learning. Okay, again, if you've studied tarot, you understand that air is the intellectual kind of house. So it's intellect, judgment, rationality. It's a very active kind of energy, and they're passionate about learning and they like to be active in doing things, but they're very dispassionate. In other words, they can turn off their heart a little bit and be kind of just pure logic, which can be good. Can be good in certain situations, but they can be thought of as a little cold-hearted. So, air houses, people that are in the air house they're kind of fun. They can be playful, but when it comes down to it, they really like being smart. They're the witty fun, where they're sitting there, they're making puns, they're making, little intellectual jokes, and oh, haha, I'm so smart. British dry humor, they love that. They love books, but they also like to be outdoors. They're an active house. They're not bookworms that hide in the house and that's all they ever do. So that's a good thing. Because it's really lame when, all you do is hide in your house and then you never do anything with your knowledge. Airs are the perfect ones, all about taking that knowledge and then going out and actively using it in the surroundings that they need to use it in. So they like to be outdoors. They like to be... windy days are their favorite. However, they can also be a little bit windy themselves. Okay? They can... guys, don't take this the wrong way. But you can kind of be full of hot air. Yeah, you can. You can kind of talk a good game, but not have enough knowledge to really do anything with it, but you like to try and talk your good game. And sometimes you're a little flighty. Like, you get all excited about this project. Oh, I'm going to do this project. It's going to be so great. And then you float off somewhere and get excited about a different one. Focus is not your forte, which is okay. Because, sometimes what it is we need this house for the reason of they find all the information, they think up all the really great ideas, they get them started, and then one of the other houses takes over and actually finishes the idea, which is okay. See, this nice thing about the Lord's house is we all work together. We work together as a team. We all do different aspects of projects. So it's a good thing. We all work really well together. And so it's okay if you're a little flighty and you get all excited and then float off somewhere. Someone else will finish it. So it's good. So that's the air house. Other aspects of the air house. Let me look at my paper. Yay! They're really enthusiastic, really creative. They're a bit confident, sometimes a little overconfident. Hint, hint. Energetic, they're cheerful, and they really go at it wholeheartedly. So that's a good thing. Those are all good things. So yeah, that's kind of the air house. So Queston, House of Higher Learning, that's the air house. Okay, so the second house we're going to talk about is called Eucaudex. It's the Earth House, and it's called the House of Deep Foundations. Now, again, going to tarot, they have a lot of the same aspects as that house does, and there's reasons for that, you know. I sometimes wonder whoever created tarot, if they were kind of in the Lords. We won't get into that now, but Lords have had a decent hand in making a lot of the things that we use now, because we were there then, we were here now, and we wanted to have our same tools, so we made sure that everybody noticed them. Okay, so House of Deep Foundations, Eucaudex. This house is very grounded, stable. They're very good with material possessions and money. Like, they have great money management skills, really great at actually holding on to things. Now, that can be good, that can be bad. Okay? And then they have a strong foundation. Like, in whatever they believe in whatever they choose to work with, or any ideas they have that they choose to use, they have a really deep, strong foundation to build on. And they make sure that they have that before they take action. So, they're very nurturing, they're very big-hearted, they dream big. They dream really, really big. But they make sure that their foundation is really solid before they keep going. Okay, so this is not somebody that just slapdashes it all together and runs for their idea. This is somebody that sits back and plans and plots and is meticulous about making sure all the things are in place that they need before they take the giant leap of, I'm gonna make this! Okay, so, yeah. They're very unwavering. When they have a purpose, they stick to it. But they're cautious about it. You know, they make sure that their purpose is something they really, really feel a lot about. They don't just, oh, well, let's just, whee! You know, no. Mm-mm. Earth houses, they like to have an effect. They're very practical. And because they're so careful, they end up being very prosperous, because they don't use ideas or go for things that are going to fall through. If it has a really, really strong foundation under it, it's not going to fall through. So the nice thing is, let's look at it from, we have House Queston, the air house. They think up a really great idea. They're really creative, thought of a great idea. The earth house then takes that idea and goes, okay, if we want to execute this idea, if we really want to do this, we need the following things. And they make a list, and they start the foundation for it. They make it really strong and stable and able to actually work. Now, Earth House, because they're so good with material things and prosperous and money and such, they're the ones you want funding your project. They're the ones you want figuring out the funding and figuring out, okay, is this really going to work, or was this just, you know, this cool thing I thought up that really is not going to work out? Okay, they're the ones that are going to look over your idea and sit there and go, okay, we need to fix this and this and this and this needs to be in place and blah, blah, and they're going to find all the holes and patch them securely with, you know, clay and everything they can think of before you take that first step. So we kind of have an idea process here going too, where the air house thinks the idea, the earth house makes sure makes sense to go forward with that idea and figures out how to make the best foundation they can for that idea. And then there's another house that takes it from there. So, yeah. So, if you're an earth house, you're going to be really grounded. You're not going to have issues grounding your energy. You're going to stay very grounded. But you're not going to have the high spikes of energy that other houses have. You're going to be more down to earth, more nurturing, more quiet. You'll probably have an affinity for crystals. You'll probably like that because it's an earth thing. It feels earthy and comforting, and you'll also probably like the outdoors. Not in the same way as the air person. The air person wants to go run around, feel the air through their hair, going fast on things. You probably want to go hiking. You want to go look at rocks. You want to go talk to the forests or the trees, or be in real earthy environments, whereas the air person they want to feel that rush of being outdoors and things like that. So so that's kind of basic earth house. Okay, that's you, Codex. Okay, the house of deep foundations. Okay, so the next house we're going to talk about is the firehouse. Okay, this is the house of high creation. It's called Zerdonwi. Don't ask about the names. This is what they're called. I don't know. So the firehouse is, again, if you're looking at your tarot deck right now, you'll kind of know what I'm about to say. A creative energy, life force, momentum, potentiality. Okay. Firehouse. I love Firehouse. I'm not part of Firehouse, but I love the Firehouse. The Firehouse is great because of their energy. Okay, their energy is amazing. Whereas, okay, let's recap. Air House thinks of the idea. Earth House goes over the idea and goes, okay, this is what we do to actually make this a plausible idea. Then they hand it to the Firehouse. And the Firehouse goes, ooh, shiny. Okay, the more ideas you give a Firehouse, the better, because they get really excited and fired up. And they go for it. And they just take that idea and they build and build and build and build and build and build. And they have the energy to keep it going. Whereas the Earth House kind of has the energy to get it really strong and stable in the foundation part. The Firehouse has the energy and ability to build on that strong foundation and make it big. Okay? So they take your idea from the Air House and then the strong foundation, and then they just build and build and build until the idea is almost done. Now, they are not the completion of the idea, okay? There's another house that kind of completes the plan or idea, okay? Or is good at completing the plan or idea, okay? Firehouse is merely good at get it done, okay? They are the ones that, if they're on a project, they get really fired up and they get it almost all the way done, and then sometimes they kind of forget about it because they found a new shiny over there that they want to go after, and so then they go after that one, and so they're not really good at finishing ideas or projects, but they're really good at getting most of it done. Okay, if they have 90% of it done, that last 10% somebody else has to finish because they're off and running on another shiny idea. And that's okay. Fires are like that. They get really, really fired up about creative things. They get really, really fired up about their own ideas. If you pique the interest of a Firehouse person, they will want you to go and go and go and go and never ever stop whatever it was that made them really excited and happy. They're very, they can be very knowledgeable. They have a lot of fortitude. But they're also kind of truth seekers. They cannot stand somebody that's not telling them the truth. It's that fire element. They burn away everything that is not truth. So people that are like this, I mean, they have that fiery personality. They get fired up, they get excited, they get happy. They're usually very happy people. They're not necessarily like, let's go outside and do stuff, but they're very happy people. They like to do a lot of things. they have a lot of energy, so they may like sports a lot. They may like things that take a lot of energy, martial arts, you know, things like that. They're very articulate. Yeah, never ask a fire person their opinion, because you will get their opinion and it will not be cushioned. Will not be cushioned at all. They will merely tell you completely what they think. So if you ask them their opinion, you're going to get it. All of it. Immediately. So, this is good and bad. I'm sure you can think of why. So, Firehouse, we all love you for your energy, but and your honesty, but they don't know how to tone it down. They don't. They are impetuous. They don't always think before they act. Sometimes they do, but not always. That's why sometimes it's best that someone else hand them, hey, here's this project, because the really hard thinking part has already been done, where you have to concentrate and really think about stuff. It's already done. All you have to do is play with the idea and get it to grow. So not exactly the best people for making plans. They can execute plans, but they can't make the plans because they are far too quick about things to really think it through. But that's okay, because we need their energy to get a lot of things done, which is, it's important. It's very important to have the high energy to accomplish the goals, not just plan them out and think about them a lot. Yeah, we'd never get anything done if we didn't have Firehouse. Okay, last house of the basic 4 elements. We've had air, we've had earth, we've had fire. Now we gotta do water. The water house. Flavridir. House of deeper wisdom. Kind of cool thing about the waters is they can look at everything and see what the wisest way to continue is. Not the most intelligent, not the quickest, not the most stable, okay, because sometimes the most stable is not the wisest, but the wisest way to continue, okay? I like the waters. They're intuitive, they go with emotion, matters of the heart, secret wisdom, and they're kind of the passive energy, okay? We've had the active energy, okay, we've had 2 active energies, a passive energy. Now we have another passive energy, okay? Air is active, it thinks of the idea. Earth, passive, goes over the idea, figures out what to make it a strong foundation so it won't topple over, gets all the kinks worked out, but doesn't really do a whole lot other than get that foundation. Okay? Fire, active energy, let's build this thing, gets it mostly done. Water energy, passive again, goes, okay, what is the wisest way to finish this? Where is something we need to repair? Where is something we need to fix? Where is something we need to look at and make sure got done right? So they're wisdom, and they're very intuitive about it too. I mean, they may have no logical reason to back up why they're saying what they're saying, but they know. You know, they just know, which is cool. They're very contemplative, they're very reflective, they sit there and they think, and then they come up with like the wisest answer ever. You're like, whoa, where'd that come from? And they just smile, you know, and continue on. They're very aware of their surroundings at all times. They're very aware of people's needs, people's emotions, what this project, whatever it is supposed to be fulfilling in the way of needs and emotions and stuff like that. So they're very helpful. They are the finishers. They're the ones that place the capstone on top of everything and say, it's done. We did it. So, you know, let's see. They're very emotion focused, okay? This is the person that will think of how this is going to affect everyone's feelings before they think of how it's affecting everybody any other way. So, yeah, these people can be very emotional. Sorry. Yeah, you can be very emotional. Sometimes over the top. But it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like the tide. It comes in and then it goes out, and then it comes in and then it goes out, and so it can be thought of as a little bit bipolar. They're not. They're feeling their water, which is okay. These people love to be around water. I mean, whether it's an aquarium or they have to have fish, or they love to go swimming, or they just want to go by the lake, and or they take baths, like lots of baths or lots of showers, because it makes them feel better, and that's a good thing. At least they know emotionally what they need. That's another thing. They're very emotionally healthy. They know what they need to stay sane, so they're not snapping at everyone. Whereas some of the rest of us, we're so caught up in everything else, we kind of forget what we need and kind of skimp on what we need, and we end up cranky. They may end up cranky, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to, upset a water house. Make sure you drink lots of water if you're a water house, because you get dehydrated really easy. Anytime you do any kind of energy work, you kind of use up some of your water, so you're going to want to drink a lot of water. Let's see. However, sometimes you guys can be a little too passive. I'm sorry. Yes, you can be a little too passive. You like to do things, but you don't extend yourselves a lot. And that's good in some ways, because you know your emotional needs and things, and so you don't overextend. But sometimes you don't want to do anything either. You're just kind of, I'm going to be just this still water pool here and not move. Well, water is best and freshest when it's moving, so try to move. Don't get stagnated. It's not good. But yeah, so Water House is really great for being wise and intuitive and in touch with your emotions and other people's emotions. So, yeah, they kind of try to balance everything out. They kind of cool the fires down a little bit, make sure the earth is nurtured, and make sure the air hasn't floated away completely. They're kind of the balancers, which is nice. So we are thankful for the Water House too. Flaverdere, House of Deeper Wisdom. Okay, so we've gone over the 4 basic houses: earth, air, fire, water. Okay, those are the basic. Now we have what I like to call blended elemental houses. Now, this is a concept I figured out in high school, and I didn't realize I figured it out because I was writing a story at the time that used this kind of concept, and I didn't realize it was a true concept. Hint, guys, sometimes you think of stuff when you're a kid or a teenager that actually was very, very true. So make sure you look back over things. Lords do this a lot. Like, we know stuff and we don't know that we knew stuff that was cool. Anyway, blended house basically means we took 2 elements and put them together, and what do they make? So there's 4 of those that are true blended houses. I'm sure you guys could think of more. But to be honest, these are the 4 basic blended houses. Now there's branch offs and things. But for the houses of lords, okay, there's only 4 blended houses. We've got magma or lava, which is fire earth. We've got weather or lightning, however you want to look at that, which is an air fire. We've got ice, which is a water air. And we've got forest or life or growing things, basically. I like to call it the nature house, really. And that is an earth water. Okay, when you start combining air, earth, and fire, water, you start getting some weird combos that don't quite actually solidify. So these are the ones that actually solidify into being actual houses. If you guys think you're something else, please email me, because I would love to know if there's more houses than I thought. Because, yeah, that'd just be really interesting. Anyway, but we're going to cover the 4 ones that I know are houses in the House of Lords. So, first one we're going to kind of go clockwise. So upper right hand corner, we have the air fire house, which is weather. Now, when you think of weather, okay, you have your high pressure, your low pressures, and you have your hot and cold, okay? So air's usually a cold thing, fire is usually a hot thing. They combine together to create different weather patterns, okay? That's what I mean by base elements combining together to blend into a new element, okay? The fire air house, aka lightning weather house, is called radome, and it is the house of the split sky. Now, this is kind of an interesting house because there's actually two sections to it, okay? It's called the split sky for a reason. There's kind of two halves of the house. There's still one house. But there are two halves that kind of make up the house. You've got kind of the, as I said, like high pressure hot kind of side, and you have the low pressure cooler side. Okay, all of them are very intellectual, creative, rational, lots of potential for activity, but not necessarily activity right off. Just kind of like when you look at weather, 1 minute it looks kind of cloudy, like, oh, it's gonna rain, it's gonna snow, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And then it never does a dang thing. It just sits there, and you're like, oh, And then other days you're like, oh, it's cloudy, it's not going to do a thing. And then you have like the worst storm of the century. Yeah, it's like that, okay? Potential for energy, not necessarily actually doing it. That's okay. Things I like about this house, they're honest, they're very confident. They're creative. They create a lot of nice things. They're kind of the best of the energy to move forward and the intelligence to back that up, which I'm thankful for. Whereas, the air house thinks of all these great ideas, the firehouse wants to do like a million things, but combine them together and you have the best of both worlds, the intelligence and creativity, but the energy to actually do something about it, which is good. That's always a good thing. Things I find a little difficult about this house. Sometimes they are just cloudy days. And they just sit there. And they don't do a dang thing. They have this great idea, great project, and they don't do anything. And that's okay. We have to have cloudy days to appreciate the sunny days when everything's great. They can be a little heady. They can kind of be a little ornery too, because they've got that fire. So they get fired up and can get ornery. My best way of describing a a weather house person is it's like weather. Okay, they really are like weather. When they're unsure about something or confused or worried, they seem a bit foggy. Like they're not all the way here. They're just kind of foggy. Okay, when they're sad, it's rainy, and they have this rainy personality, and you just feel like everything should rain. Everyone should be rainy because they're rainy. But when it's a sunny day, when they are happy and excited, and it's a sunny day, they are just full of energy and happy, and they bring sunshine to your life, okay? When they're angry, when they're angry, they kind of get broody. They sit and they brood over it. And you can tell that a storm is brewing and it's getting cloudy. And if you aggravate them while they're angry, they will lightning strike out at you. And they're very electric. Their personalities are very electric. They have a way of livening up everyone, which is good. They kind of inspire people to, go get them. And they like being out in nature. They like being active. They like martial arts or dancing or things like that, active pursuits, sports maybe. But the personality is what'll tell you. They feel very weather-like, and that can sometimes mean that they're kind of bipolar. 1 minute they're happy, sunshine, even the next minute they're cloudy with a chance of lightning. Run. Okay, not really run, but if you have a friend like that, you probably know what I mean. Okay, so that's Radome, the House of the Split Sky. Okay, so the next house we're going to talk about is the magma house, or lava, or volcano, or whatever you want to call it that way. Alright, the name of the house is Ukraduk. Again, don't ask me about the names. I don't know. Okay, they are the house of changing foundations. Now, that may sound like a bad thing, okay? Because once you have your foundation set, you don't want it to change. You don't. And that's a foundational principle of most things that you're building. You know, once you get that settled, that nice settled foundation, you don't want to move it. You do not. However, there are certain organizations, ideas, things in this world that really need to change their foundational principle. They really need to look at the world now and how things are going and go, this needs to change. And if that means our entire foundational principle changes, then so be it. Okay? Now, that's kind of what this house specializes in. They have momentum and potential. They're flexible and they change foundations. That's what they do, okay? They sit there and they look at some of the ideas we've had for ages. Like I don't know. Like, I'm not going to pick one because that's just a loaded cannon there. But think about an idea we've had as a culture or as a world for ages and ages and ages and ages. And it's such a worn out idea and so old, it's kind of starting to get outdated. But because it's based so strongly in a foundation that has been around for so long, no one wants to change it. Nobody will step up and change it. Okay, these guys will. These guys will go in there and go, okay, we can change this foundation with this and this and this, and it'll change the entire outcome of the idea. And in doing that, it'll make it better. Won't that make it better? And they get all excited and happy because they're Fire Earth. Okay, Earth understands the need to have a good foundation, but Fire understands the need for change. And that sometimes your good foundation that was good isn't good anymore. So now it needs to change. So they help it move along and change, which is really cool, actually. However, they're not well liked because they do change. And people don't always like change. They're not always ready for it. But this house proves you can do it happily, safely, in moderation, to make it work right. Okay, so it's a good thing. We need these guys because some of us don't realize when an idea needs to change and become something better. They're very enterprising. They're very ethical. Okay, even though they're changing the foundational principles of things, they try to do it in the best possible way and best ethically to do it. So that way they aren't ruining the chances of another group of people or hurting anybody or an organization or anything. They're just trying to make things better. Okay, sometimes they get a little overzealous. It's the fire in them. They get a little overzealous. They can seem a little bipolar. 1 minute their foundational idea was this, the next minute it's changed. That can be frustrating when dealing with one from a magma house, but that's okay. You learn to kind of go with the flow with them. You know, like waters, they go with the flow. These guys flow slower because they're a magma flow, but they still go more with the flow of how life and the universe is than, say, the Earth house that has their foundation, oh, we don't want to move. These guys go, okay, sometimes the foundation needs to move, and it's okay. So it's good. They're flexible. I like that they're flexible. They're willing to change. They're willing to look at change and seek out new and better change for everyone. These guys are like I like to call them kind of the right fighters. Yeah, because they will find something, again, that's fundamentally wrong with a foundational principle that we've had for ages, and they will go to bat for the people that it's not serving anymore. And so they become the right fighters. They're the ones that champion causes that start the change, okay? And really want to follow it through, too. So, most of these people, they're very active. They're very, either politically or economically or having to do with nature and making sure that it's taken care of, and ecology and animals, and just kind of, they will find a cause and they will champion it to the end of their days, and they will be very active in it, trying to create change, trying to get the word out there, and it's really great, and I love that. I really, really love that about them. Sometimes they get a little overzealous about it, kind of tick people off, but if you're a friend with one of these from a magma house, you will understand that they are just trying to do what they feel is best so that the whole world moves forward. That they're all about, let's get the whole world to move forward. It'll be awesome. So that is Ukraduk, the House of Changing Foundations. Okay, so the next house we're going to talk about is the Water Earth House, which is like forest, wood, nature. I like to think of it as nature. And its house name is Nakradin. And it is actually, this one actually has a cute name, House of the Fairy Glens. That kind of tells you a lot right there. They're stable, but they have the water factor of emotion. They're very strong in their foundations, but they use their intuition more than just logic. And they actually have a lot of secret wisdom, okay? This house is really cool. This house usually has a very strong affinity with animals, very good at communicating with plants, or very good at using herbs to heal ailments, and it's kind of an innate thing. They've always kind of known this, and that's kind of all they can tell you. They just know. That's the intuition part. These guys, they're very intuitive. They can live off the land. They like best green areas. Okay, so we're talking trees, forests, big grassy fields with flowers, or places where there's a lot of life going on. That can mean a beehive. That can mean birds. That can mean an anthill. Okay, any kind of thriving nature-based life they get really excited about. If you thought that the Magma House would champion a cause, these guys are the champions of the eco-friendly movement. Everything being eco-friendly, save the whales, save the forest, save the everything about nature. Because they're so nature-based, they are very close to Mother Earth, which is really, really awesome. Okay, whereas Radom, which is kind of the weather house, is really close to Father Sky. Okay, like if you go with the Native American traditions, and we're not gonna get into the God sphere and all that right now, but if you're really into like the Native American traditions, you'll understand that there's Father Sky, and he's over everything that has to do with weather and the stars and higher thinking and energy and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Mother Earth is the nature-based stuff, where it's herbs and plants and this physical reality and crystals and all that kind of stuff. Okay, the nature house is really close to Mother Earth. They love Mother Earth. They're the kind of people that literally go out and hug a tree because that's what makes them happy, and that's really cool, and I love that. They'll go out and hug the ground and tell Mother Earth that they love her and things, and it's really cool. I love the nature house for that, because they're just so interesting, and they understand the earth so well. They green thumb, yeah, they more like have like an entire green body. They can literally grow anything, do anything with animals, train them or take care of them. Just they innately know. They just know, which is really fun. The main thing with this house, do not upset their eco-friendliness, okay? If you do not recycle, if you do not throw your trash away properly, if you do not, treat animals nicely, they're gonna get mad really quickly, really quickly. So that's kind of the one negative aspect of them is if you cannot respect nature, they are not happy. They are not happy campers at all. And they will not like you. So, this is where my philosophy of respect everybody and how they feel about things comes into play. But yeah, pretty much as long as you're pretty good about, nature stuff, and they may just feel that they need to educate you. You will get lectured a lot. And that's okay. That's the earth in them coming out being strong and structured, and this is how this goes. But the water in them makes them very emotionally attached to it too. So yeah, they kind of get a little excited about natural things and making sure the natural things are okay. And yeah, these guys love being outside. Oh my gosh, if you thought the other houses liked being outside, you have seen nothing till you have met someone from Nakerdin. They literally, they could live outside in a little tent or a cave and be happy, beyond happy, like ecstatic, These are like druids, like the epitome of druids live in this house, which is really cool. So that's Nakerdin. Yeah, House of the Fairy Glens. They're very in touch with the fairies and nature spirits and things, so really cool. Okay, so the next house is the air water house. And if you think about it, air being a cool thing and water being a cool thing, when you combine air and water together, you get ice. Or snow, or, things like that. Now, you would think this would be part of the weather category, but this is two cooling things together, whereas the weather house is more of a cool and a hot thing together, which is more rain, lightning, thunder, clouds, sunny kind of weather patterns. Whereas when you think air and water, it's more of a cold feeling, and so this has to do completely with ice and snow. And not necessarily snow falling, I mean like snow where it stays. So like we're talking Arctic and subarctic areas that are cold and freezing and full of ice and snow. Okay. Their house name is Jacid. And their kind of motto thing is House of the Crystalline Focus. Now, notice it points out crystalline, okay? Ice and snow, by all rules of science, are crystals. They are crystals. So it is the crystalline form of water. So that's actually kind of cool. It's kind of almost like a higher form of water. So their big things are intellect, intuition, emotional judgments, and then using their passive energy, okay? So whereas, passive energy just kind of sits there and thinks and kind of figures things out from afar, using that passive energy means that they're going to take what they've figured out and actually do something with it. Okay, these kinds of people, they thrive during wintertime. Oh my gosh, doesn't matter what part of the world they're in. If it is cooler in the wintertime, they are excited because that cool, crisp, wet air is exactly what they want. Okay, these guys, they love to go anything in snow. Sledding, skiing, snowboarding, just hanging out and playing in it, making snow forts, making snowball fights. They're over 25 and hanging out, and there's snow on the ground, and you're walking down the sidewalk, and suddenly you get a snowball in the back of the head. That's them. Okay? They're very playful and fun, because when you think about it, if every snowflake is unique and different from another one ever, you have to be pretty creative and pretty playful to think of that kind of thing. So this house is very playful, very fun. They like to have a good time. They're active, not as active as some of the firehouses, but they're definitely active, using that passive energy to move forward with. Very intuitive. I mean, these are the people that they just know things, but in an intellectual way. Okay, whereas most of the water houses, they know things on an emotional level or on a spiritual level. These guys just know stuff on an intellectual level. Okay, these are the guys that are like a walking textbook, but they don't know where they got it from. They just know, which is awesome. The thing with them is that they are focused. They are very, very focused. Okay, these guys specialize in one thing, only one. Okay, they find that one thing they can specialize in, and that's what they do forever. Okay, they do not like to branch out. They are not a branching out kind. Okay, icicles hang in a straight line. Okay, when ice forms, all the molecules are lined up in one rigid way. Okay, when snowflakes are made, they're all straight lines. Okay, making up these patterns. Okay, these guys are straight line focused. Okay, they go in straight lines and they stick with what they know. That's what these guys do, and that can be kind of annoying because they're such a specialist in their area. They know like everything about that area, and it's great until you decide that you want to talk about another area that they know nothing about, and then they kind of get a little upset because then they feel lost and stupid. And they're not lost or stupid, they haven't specialized in that, and that's okay. So, they get a little upset if you aren't talking about the thing they want to talk about. Other than that, they're great. Greatest specialists you could ever call in on anything. Find the one person that knows about what it is you need, and you're great. People like this, they seem obsessed about one thing, and they're not obsessed, they're just really, really focused. And that's okay. Give them a project in the area they like, and they will concentrate. Okay, it's not that they get a lot done in a short amount of time, it's that they will concentrate on it so wholly that they will get it done. And it will get done right. So, it's really cool, actually. So that's Jacid, the House of Crystalline Focus. Okay, so the next house we're going to talk about kind of starts getting into the tricky thing. Okay, there are two houses. Well, three. There's three houses. They kind of get into the tricky thing. Okay, yes, we as lords try to promote the best good for the universe. Okay? However, sometimes the best thing for the universe is not so nice things happening. Okay? Because it spurs them forward to change. Okay? And negativity has always done that. Okay? It spurs people forward to change. Just because something is dark does not mean it's a bad thing. Okay? Now this is a concept that takes a long while to finally understand. I'm probably going to have to do a video all completely on just this. But, long and short of it, okay, just because something is light does not mean it's the best idea. Just because something's dark does not mean it's the best idea. Also doesn't mean it's, not the worst idea, and light isn't the worst idea. Okay, there's three houses: light, dark, and neutral. Okay, yeah, this is complicated. Okay, the lighthouse does good things, like they are the epitome of wondrous, wonderful things. Okay, the dark house does a lot of things that aren't so good, aren't so wonderful and glorious. Okay, the neutral house keeps the two balanced. It keeps them in balance. So if there's something really, really horrible that happens, they make sure some really, really great happens afterwards, okay, to balance it, okay, and it may not be in the same area, it could be throughout the universe, okay. The whole point of these three houses is to keep the entirety of the universe balanced between good, evil, and neutrality. That's the point of these three houses. And I'm sure this is going to spur a lot of debates. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to talk to me about this. I'm totally willing to talk about it. It's hard to explain. It's a very hard concept to explain. But just know that the whole point of the next three houses we're talking about is to keep everything balanced. Dark, light, and the balancing house of neutrality. Okay, that's going to be the point. Okay, so we're gonna go with one house first, and this is a house you're probably gonna relate to really well. This is the lighthouse. This is the house that's all about doing the right thing, being good to the epitome of goodness, and is actually pretty amazing. It's a really amazing house. Okay, its name is Luminia, fittingly so. And it's called the House of the Everlasting Light. And their symbol is this great big sunburst, which is really cool. They're really cool. They're very high vibrational people, or beings, depending. You know, not all lords live physical lives. Some of us do, some of us don't. That's okay. They're all about righteousness. They work with the higher planes of existence to get things done. And they're all about guidance. They love to give guidance and direction to things, and people and beings and all of that. So they're everything that there is to be about light. I mean, they're such a high vibration that you can only explain them as light. These are those people that are very, well, in a short word, paladin-like. They fight to an extreme. And they believe in a universal cause of good. They believe in, you know, everything that's good and nurturing and wonderful in the world, in the universe. These are people that literally, like, they don't really care what religion or race or anything you are. If you are championing a cause of good, they are right there with you. They are really excited. However, they can be a little overzealous. Yeah, anyone that's championing the cause of good like this can be overzealous and kind of turn people off of the very cause they're trying to champion because they're being so overbearing about it. That's okay. It's something they have to learn yet, and that's okay, you know. But yeah, when it comes to anything light or good or wonderful happening in the universe, you're bound to find tons of Luminia House people there. I mean, they plan things on a grand scale of good things to happen in the universe. They don't much care for their other house, which balances them. And so there's kind of a house feud going on there, but thankfully we have the neutral house in the middle, kind of tries to keep everything toned down. So they have their projects and their things that they need to do. These people they just radiate that unconditional love and the righteous might, sunshiny personality. These are people that have high morals, very, very high morals. I mean, you know, and that can make them seem somewhat judgmental. So, they have to be a little careful when they're trying to explain to somebody that, you know, well, that might not have been the best thing you could have done. This is what you should do next time. You know, they kind of come off as kind of pompous and heady and, you know, aloof. They don't mean to be. They're just so caught up in this goodness thing that they kind of forget that we learn through mistakes, and not all our mistakes are going to be real good ones. So, you know, they've learned a lot. Most of these are very high vibrational beings. They work very closely with angel realms, with, you know, gods and goddesses and wonderful, good, pure things, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, they're a great house. Just know that they are out for a righteous purpose, and sometimes that can rub people the wrong way. And you know, saying that, it's because we don't understand where they're coming from completely. I mean, most of us are a balanced combination of light and dark. And that's how we're created as humans. Okay, we're supposed to have a balance of light and dark. the thing is that these guys are much more light and hardly have any dark in them. So therefore, they don't understand balance very well in any direction other than, oh well, goodness must always prevail. And in a lot of ways we all hope that goodness will always prevail in a lot of ways. Because, I mean, everyone wants to have good things happen. So, they're awesome. We love them. And they're part of what keeps the balance of the universe. So, we need them desperately. So, that is Luminia, the House of the Everlasting Light. Okay, so the next house we're going to talk about is Laredon. Okay, and they are the house of the Darkness Catchers. Yeah, they're kind of interesting. Especially, I mean, like their motto. It's kind of interesting. They're the Darkness Catchers. Okay, they catch the darkness and then they use it in interesting ways. I'm going to say interesting. They're kind of low vibration, but that does not mean they're bad. Okay, it just means they're lower vibration. They deal with a lot of lower vibrational planes that the rest of us really don't want to go and deal with anyway. But in order to keep the balance of the universe, we would have to. So we're thankful that they'd want to go do that. They're very good at secrets. They have a lot of the hidden knowledge in the universe, which is kind of interesting. It's the hidden things in the dark. And they kind of specialize in misdirection. Now let's define misdirection in this case. In this case, the misdirection means that they're going to try and keep you off the trail of the secrets you want to find. Okay? They're not going to let you have it easy. Okay? Now, that being said, just because they are dark and they use the darkness does not mean they are by essential evil. Okay? Evil and darkness are different. They are. Okay, darkness and shadows, they can be scary. They can be frightening. But that doesn't make them evil. It just makes them dark. Does this house do a lot of what most people would consider evil things? Yeah, they do. But it can't all be sunshine and wonderful from House Luminia all the time. Okay? Because then we would have no balance. And everything has to have a balance. Okay? This is a concept people have a lot of trouble with. Okay? These guys keep the balance. Okay? Whereas House Luminia does not always like to keep things balanced. House Laredon doesn't always like to keep balance either. But they're in the opposite direction. So, when something big and bad happens, and it's just horrible, yeah, they've probably had a bit of a hand in it. And if you notice, then House Luminia comes along and something big and wonderful happens to kind of counteract. Maybe not in the same place, maybe not in the same part of the universe, but something big and wonderful will happen to counteract. This is checks and balances here, and they don't like doing that. Neither House Luminia or Laredon like doing that. But that's okay. They serve their purposes. They do what they need to do. Okay? This house is very ingenious. Oh, are they ingenious? They think of the most creative, interesting ways to do things. And they're not afraid to do them. Even if no one else approves, they are not afraid to do them. So, they're kind of the go-getters. They go and it doesn't matter what it takes for them to get there, they do it. And some goals, I will tell you, there are good ways to go about doing those goals, and then there are some goals that literally, there's no way to get around doing some things that aren't very fun or very nice in order to accomplish it. And, do I suggest that you guys all run around doing things like that? No, I really don't. If you feel you're a part of this house, you will realize where you fit into all this. Okay, there are a lot of people that fit into this house. They don't do horrible things. They don't do absolutely horrible things. They just kind of act more neutral. And the more neutral there is going on, the less pull, super, super good things have. Because if you're neutral, you're just kind of, whatever, I'm doing my thing over here, and you do your thing over there, and that's okay. But I will tell you, these guys, they have some hidden knowledge stuff that would blow your mind. I mean, they know things that you're going, where did you find that? And they're going, I've always known it. Does it bother you? And a lot of these things will bother people, but it doesn't bother these guys. These guys are like, it's great. I know cool stuff. We're good, and they're kind of interesting. These people like dark things. Okay, now I'm not saying dark things as in, like, evil, nasty, not talking that. We're talking they like shadows, they like the dark, they like to sit in the dark, they like to dress darkly, they probably like keeping their hair dark. And they just have this overall kind of heavy kind of feeling around them. Heavy not as in bad, just kind of heavier, lower vibration energy. But sometimes they're the ones that are going to get the thing done, whatever it is that needs doing. Because they don't care how they get it done as long as it gets done. So, they're kind of cool. So that's Illiridin, the Darkness Catcher house. Okay. Yeah. So, the next house we're going to talk about is Balit. And Balit is the house of balancers. They literally, that's all they do. That's what their whole purpose is they go around and they balance the light and the dark. That's their whole purpose. They sit in between the two houses. If you notice, they're kind of in the middle. And they balance the light and the dark, and they make sure that that balance is always kept. Okay, now it may not be kept on the same planet. Okay, so if something horrible happens here, something wonderful may happen somewhere else in the universe to balance it. And we may not see that as a balance, but it is. Okay? Same way around. Something big and huge and wonderful may happen here, and something horrible may happen somewhere else in the universe. And that's still a balance. Okay? This is called universal balance. Okay? And we're not talking about just planetary balance. There's a whole other system that balances that. Okay? We're talking universe balance. Okay? So these guys are middle vibrations. They're not real super high vibration. They're not real low vibrations, but they're kind of in the middle. They usually do stuff in the material planes a lot because that's kind of our middle. Okay, the lower vibrational planes are places we don't want to go hang out for the most part, other than Illiridin House likes it there. I've been there, done that. Not my favorite place to go. Okay, the high planes are, again, they're super high vibrational. You can go there. It's really bright and fun, but you don't feel real comfortable there either because you're a material plane person. If you're watching this, you're a material plane person. You're kind of in the middle. You have dark and light in you. And so neither place is going to feel real comfortable in the extremes, and so we need a balance. And that's what House Balit's really good at. So they specialize in the material plane a lot, but they're all about balancing the universal good and bad in the world and the universe. So they're also very adventurous. They are the adventurers because that is where they're the ones that kind of strike up the adventures, okay? Because that's where you watch the good and the bad balance in the way that they need to. So they strike up the adventures. They strike up the situations. They make things move so that way people can actually see the good and the bad and the middle ground there, if there is a middle ground. There's not always a middle ground. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But so they can see all three aspects and be able to go, oh, I get it. There's good and there's bad and there's in the middle and there's a balance that has to be kept and it's all good. So that's kind of part of their purpose, is to literally keep the universe balanced, keep us as human beings balanced, keep us understanding that there's a balance. So they're very patient. I like that they're very patient. These people will let you debate until you are blue in the face about good and evil and all of that. And then they'll just come up with some little thing that will send you reeling. You know, just totally blow your mind and make you think, whoa, I never thought of that before. Oh my gosh, what is that? Let's talk about that now. And then you start learning. You know, so they like to hear diversity points of view. They like to understand what you think about the universe. And then they like to help you understand it a little more. So these people are really good at teaching. They seem neutral. Like these are the ones that are the peacemakers. They're the ones that sit there and you and your friend are having this horrible conflict. They go walking up in there and go, okay, what's your side? Okay, now what's your side? Okay, now let's talk about how we can find a middle here that everybody's going to be okay with. So, I mean, these guys are kind of the conflict resolution people. They're the ones that they're just really good at finding that balance, and they have a balance too. And they make sure that they keep their balance very well. These are people that you can hardly ever throw off on what they think is okay and what's not okay. They keep their balance very well. So they don't get caught up in the conflict, but they can sit there and watch the conflict and help it kind of come to a resolution in a good way. So these guys are pretty awesome. I really like House Ballot. They are in attendance in a lot of the council meetings because we can get into some pretty heated arguments in council meetings, and they're the ones that kind of keep us from wanting to really kill each other and be really angry. So it's nice. It's nice to have them around. We need them a lot. You know, they kind of keep the balance of everything. If you notice in my little picture thing, which I will bring up again, they are literally in the center of everything, along with one other house, and we'll be talking about that house here in a few minutes. So they're in the center of it all because they really are the balancers of everything. They keep everybody in check. Not just dark and light, but you know, physical, mental field, as well as earth, air, fire, water, and their blended elements. They keep everybody in balance. So, you know, these guys are all about keeping everything checks and balances and everybody right where they need to be. So these guys are really important. So that's Ballot, the House of Balancers. Okay, so we're down to the final three houses, which is really cool. One more thing. These last three houses are tricky too. So the first three houses that were tricky were really the light, dark, and neutral house. Those are tricky. Those are really tricky to explain. This set of houses is tricky in that has a lot more to do with things people are tetchy about. So, alright. First house is Tracrador. It is the mind house or a mental house, okay? Not mental house as in crazy. But no, literally they are over everything mental functioning. Okay, they call themselves the House of the Truth Seekers. They're all about things of the mind, all about things of mental truths. Okay? So their intellect, learned knowledge, multifaceted, and rational. Okay? These guys, you're going to love this, they are in charge of the Universe Library. Yeah, they are in charge of the Library of the Universe. Many people call it the Akashic Records. I literally call it the Library of the Universe because basically everything that ever was, ever will be, everybody's life, everybody's knowledge, everybody's everything is in this place, okay? Like, you have to know exactly what you're looking for or you're lost. You're completely lost. So these guys literally manage that library. They may not realize they do, but they would describe themselves as like the key to opening the door to the Akashic Records, or like the search database for in the records. These people are really good at reading past lives. They're really good at reading people's talents, what their purpose of their life is this time round. You know, things like that. Okay, these guys have every story in the entire universe at their disposal. This can be overwhelming to them. Okay, so sometimes these are the kind of people that you'll see, they're just spacing off somewhere. They're just like staring off into nowhere, and you're just kind of sitting there like, hey, 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 are you in there? Hello? And they're like, oh, whoa, sorry, yeah, I was thinking about something else. And they're just like, you're like, yeah, okay, you weren't here right now, were you? Okay, they're literally, they're part of the library, okay? So, every person in House Tracador literally has a section of the library they specialize in. They're like specialist librarians, okay? So some people it's past lives, some people it's, present lifetime, some people it's the world network, some people it's, lost knowledge that we've forgotten completely about, and somehow they can access just at the right time. They just type it into their little brain search engine and suddenly they've got it, and they have no idea how they got it, but it could be on any topic, whereas some people it's just intellectual stuff or emotional stuff. These guys could pop you up anything, and you have no idea like what you're gonna get. You could get something that happened on another planet ages ago, and that's completely valid for them because they've got the universe library, not just Earth's library. So if you want to deal with the Akashic records or past lives or things like that, this is who you talk to, is House Tracador. It's like awesome. These people, as I say, they have a tendency to space off. They don't mean to. They're just doing their library work or filing or bringing up some kind of knowledge that was needed at that point or some suchness. And they were not here right now. They aren't here when they're busy doing that. They're busy. You get the busy signal and then the vacant look. Hello, that kind of thing. The other problem is that they prize knowledge and books above everything. Everything else, they literally, that's all that matters to them, is how much they can learn, and books, and knowledge, and all that kind of thing. So if you guys want to go out and play, and have a good time, these are the ones that are inside, in the book, I'm reading, leave me alone, la la la, and they don't want to do anything else but learn, and tell everyone what they learned, and that kind of thing. So they're kind of your brainiac kind of geek people, and it's okay. That's okay. There's a place for them. This house is very much a place for them. And we need them because, whereas air may think of a good idea, these guys have all the knowledge base to back that idea up from now until it comes all the way to functioning. So, yeah, these guys are really important for knowing anything that's going to happen or has happened, or any skills you used to have and you can't access or you can't remember. These guys can bring it up for you and bring it to the front of your head so that you can use them. So, these guys are really important. So, Tracador, the House of Truth Seekers. Okay, so the next house I'm going to talk about, I'm really not going to talk about a lot. There's a reason for that, and if you're in this house, you know it. That's because, there's no way to not know you're in this house. Okay, it is the physical house. I'm not going to tell you what its name is. I'm not going to tell you what its logo is or anything like that. You can see the picture that I put up. That should give you a clue. The main things they're good at are action, practice knowledge, multitasking, and physical plane things. This is the one house that never has the opportunity to be the head of council, because this house opted to have complete control in the material plane instead of non-material planes. So these guys are in control of a lot in our world today, and you wouldn't know it. But if you're part of this house, you will know it. And that's all I'm really going to say on that. Again, it's the physical house, whereas the other one was the mental house, so it's everything to do with thinking. These guys are everything to do with actually physically doing in a material plane. So, that's kind of all I'm going to say on these guys. We're going to leave it at that. So, on to the next house. Okay, and our last house, which I'm going to probably have a little problem explaining because it's a little hard to explain, is Sheen Aruria. Yeah, that one's a fun one to say. It is called the House of the Moldavite Book, and it is the spirit house. So we have the mental house, which is all mental thinking-y kind of things. Then we have the physical house, which is all physical body, physical plane things. And then we have the spirit, and that's literally what combines the two together. That's what makes your mental and your physical stay together. And your soul keeps the knowledge of everything that your mental capacity has and everything that your physical body has learned too. So the spirit house is kind of interesting. These guys specialize in everything having to do with your soul. Okay? So the mental house has the Akashic records on its side. The physical house has like all of your physical incarnations and how the physical environment's going to be on their side. But the spirit house has everything to do with your entirety of your soul and your spirit, which is really cool. So these guys are all intuition based. I mean, these guys, and they don't function on anything else other than intuition. They have hidden pure knowledge, okay, because they get theirs direct from source, which is really cool. They don't go through the Akashic records. They don't go through a physical experience. They go right from source. And then they're multidimensional, they're immaterial, and they're multiplanar, okay? These guys are all about, because okay, as spirit beings, as being light beings, or however you want to call that, okay, we are multidimensional beings, okay? We have a physical life here. We can also be mentally, 6 other places, okay? Who knows? There's probably no limit. It's on whatever limit you as a being can handle. So as a multidimensional being, we literally are using our spirit in multiple ways, in multiple places, learning multiple things all at the same time. So when I say multidimensional or multiplane, it means that your higher self is on a different plane than you physically are. Okay? You're physically living a lifetime. Your higher self is watching you and trying to help you out here, and that's a different plane. And there's all these planes in between where you're at and where your higher self is that you could be anywhere in there doing a bunch of other things too. So Spirit House specializes in that, in helping people learn that and use that in a good way. They are like the core house that binds everything together. The Spirit House is everything. Because there's a spirit to air, there's a spirit to water, there's a spirit to earth and fire and the blended elements, and to light and to dark, and even the balancing. There's a spirit element to everything. So they are kind of a part of every house, but they're a house in and of themselves too. These guys don't have a lot of negatives other than kind of like the mental house, they space off somewhere. And yeah, because they kind of space off somewhere, they might just be focusing on a different dimension that they're learning something in than the one that they're actually presently physically in. Spirit house people do not like to incarnate into physical worlds. They really don't. So this is a really rare house. There's not a whole lot of these guys running around the planet in a material way. So this is very rare, so you're not going to find a lot of these guys. And that's okay, These guys have lived on different kinds of planets a lot, okay? Whereas the other houses, they might have here and there and over there and, that kind of thing. These guys have lived on so many different other planets that they don't feel at home at any one. They know they're a visitor there for a time and then they move on. So Sheen Aruria is really interesting that way. So yeah, that's kind of that house in and of a nutshell. It's very complicated, so that's probably the best description I can give to you. Yeah, these guys are pure intuition. It's really cool. And yeah, so that's House Sheen Aruria, House of the Moldavite Book. Should you want more information on why it's the House of the Moldavite Book, that may be another video in and of itself. Sorry, that one's complicated too, so that would take a while for me to explain. So there you have it, guys. That is the 14 houses of the Lord's Council. If you're having trouble figuring out which one you're in, or you're curious as to which one you might be in, or such and bother like that, please, 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 please let me know, and I'll try and help you out. If you want to know more details about your house and things, maybe I'll do individual videos on each one. I don't know. I mean, I tried spending about 5 minutes or more on each house and explaining how that house works, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things that I don't know. I'd have to explore each house really thoroughly, do a video on each one. But if you have one that you're really, really interested in, let me know. Email me, text me. Most of you guys have my text, so yeah. Anyway, I hope this has been informational. I hope this helps. Let me know if you can add to this or if you want more info. And I love all of you. Yay, happy heart. Okay, let your light shine. Don't hide. Hiding is not cool. Okay, be you. You were created a certain way to do a certain thing and to be in a certain house and to be who you are. So the universe needs you the way you are. So be you. And namaste.